So, good news for Americans and bad news for Canadians. And that's kind of the name of the game, at least under the Trudeau and the Trump presidencies. And I wanted to talk about this because in Canada, we just had record bad jobs numbers. It was, according to the Financial Post here, the worst drop in a decade. And that was since one of the biggest recessions of this generation. So the fact that people aren't talking more about how bad the Justin Trudeau economy is beyond me, but that's another story, or a story in and of itself. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the US numbers because I like talking about the US sometimes as well, and it illustrates a lot of other points. The U.S. I believe just had, I don't know what the numbers were, but their unemployment rate is lower than an already extreme low. I seen even CNN had a headline this morning that unemployment's at a 50-year low, and again that's CNN, so no one can possibly say that that's a biased outlet towards Trump. It's the exact opposite, and it boggles my mind about the political divide out there these days, that the Trump economy can be absolutely amazing, like absolutely amazing. Black unemployment's an all time low as well, so you can't claim racism. And the Trudeau economy's absolutely horrible. I mean, in Edmonton, unemployment's just under 8%. In the States, it's at like 3.2, 3.3. So if you, I mean, I think Calgary's not far behind that as well. And I don't know, like, people need to wake up. And the one thing that I think it does show is that people are really this partisan, like really this part, and it's not the other way around as much. Like, people, the one thing I can't, like, I listen to people like Joe Rogan and stuff, and we have people on that talk politics on there, and that they always talk about how, oh, it's just as bad on both sides, and it's just as bad on both. Like, no, it isn't. It's not even close. And that's not to say that the right is perfect. The difference is the left, no, everyone lets them off the hook. Everyone lets them off the hook. And whenever they do talk about it, it's, oh, the other guys are the same. That's justifying their bad actions. And we don't hold the left and the right to the same standard. And that's all I want. Like, just talk to people who are apolitical in Canada or the US, and you're going to find more people that are negative towards Trump, even though they have every reason to be positive towards Trump. And especially in Canada, they're going to be positive toward, unless you're in Alberta or Saskatchewan. But go to Ontario, Quebec, BC, the Maritimes, I mean, which is most of Canada, and they're going to be positive towards Trudeau, even though the numbers completely disagree with that. And if, let's say, Obama was in office and he had job numbers that were this good, please don't try and pretend that the average Republican or conservative would be as negative towards Obama as they were towards Trump. I mean, the average Republican wasn't even as negative towards Obama as they were towards Trump, and the Obama economy was way worse than the Trump one. And imagine if the Trump one, or if Obama was as good. Like, again, it makes no sense. Like, the Democrats are harder on Trump than they were on Obama, even though Trump is doing a way better job. Okay, it wouldn't happen in reverse. It wasn't happening in reverse. So that's something that I cannot stand, and it's something that affects me directly too. So it is personal in a way, and even if it isn't, there's 71,000 people who are out of jobs in Canada, and in the States, they have job surpluses in a lot of areas, and they have, I mean, creating insane amounts of jobs, and the economy's booming. And yet, I know this isn't representative of the majority of people, but it's representative of a growing percentage of people. And that I read through Twitter comments on, Justin Trudeau, Jason Kenney, Donald Trump, some of a lot, big name politicians, and you see these people that just, it's like, my God, what world do you live in? Like, seriously, what world do you live in? Like, I don't care if you disagree with Trump on some things, you at least have to give him the fact that the economy's absolutely roaring, And all the while, all these people were talking, and don't try and claim that it's not because of him, because every one of you guys was talking about how, or every one of those people was talking about how it was, oh, Trump's going to get in, the economy's going to collapse, there's going to be a major recession, even though, it's kind of happening in Canada right now. It's the exact opposite. It's Trudeau that we're having the recession, and yet, were there conservatives talking about how when Trudeau got elected, about how the economy is going to collapse? I mean, some, but they weren't frothing at the mouth like the anti-Trump people are, and yet the economy is in a recession in Canada. And I mean, you can make the argument that the economy is a little artificially good in the States, but it's still way better than Canada. Like, not even close. Unemployment rates are a little bit manipulative, but on the bad side, they're not manipulative. I mean, you can manipulate them into looking better than they are, but not worse. So, I mean, again, the take home story I wanted to basically get at is that Canada, we are doing absolutely horrible, and it's not getting any better, and we're going to have upwards of 4 years more of Justin Trudeau, and it's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And the problem is that I don't think a conservative government's going to get elected in Canada again, and it's definitely not going to happen under the current leadership. Andrew Scheer is too weak. He's too far to the left. His strategy didn't work. I mean, I don't understand what his strategy even was. They weren't even really clear about a lot of it. Their strategy was pretty much, I'm not Justin Trudeau, and therefore vote for me, and it didn't work. And I mean, even if you took the PPC people that voted for him, that still wouldn't have been enough. So yeah, Canada is in for a world of hurt, and that's why whenever people talk about the whole Wexit thing, like, that's another issue in and of itself. But it goes to show, like, you people are so. I mean, the people that don't want it, especially the ones that live in Alberta and Saskatchewan, like, so gullible. It's like, my God, you guys are gullible, and yet, like I say, they like in Canada, things aren't going to get better. They're not going to get better. We have at least, we have upwards of 4 more years of Justin Trudeau. The Conservatives aren't going to get elected. Okay, it's not going to happen. 99%. I mean, all but one riding. West of Winnipeg and east, maybe two ridings. But west of Winnipeg and east of Vancouver went Conservative, and yet it still wasn't. Not even now. We need like another 20 seats for a Conservative government to get elected. It's not like they lost by one or two. And Eastern Canada, the immigration is so high there that, I mean, not to mention they already have so many leftists to begin with, that they're not going to vote Conservative. It's not going to happen. And the Conservatives already tried the let's go far to the left strategy, contrary to what all the deranged idiots out there told you. The Conservatives under Scheer were as far to the left as Conservatives have ever been by quite a bit. Okay, like, seriously, point me to a policy a direct policy, not some speculative thing that CBC reported on that's complete hearsay. Something that's definitive, that he actually said in his own words that they were campaigning on, that they were to the right of where Conservatives were 10, 15 years ago. Like, please find me something. Yeah, it's not gonna. I'm not aware of anything. There's no major thing that they were. I mean, they wanted to keep the carbon tax. They were completely for the LGBT agenda, which parts of it I agree with. The ramming it down your throat part of it, definitely don't agree with. The teaching 5-year-olds about it, I completely disagree with that. But again, that's another issue in and of itself. But like I say, this stuff is going to get worse before it's going to get better, and the states are going to re-elect Trump. Their economy, I mean, the states are due for a recession, but if Trump's in office and if the economy's doing so well beforehand, it may be just a blip on the radar. If Canada goes into a recession, yeah, things are going to get really, really ugly. And like I say, the problem with these people out there is that they're so in their own little bubble, so in their bubble. And it's overwhelmingly people on the left, because it's almost impossible to be in a bubble when you're on the right, because You're bombarded with leftist views your entire life growing up, and even once you get out of school and colleges, you're still bombarded with it. So all these people on the left that talk about, oh, people on the right are just in their bubbles, like, what are you talking about? Like, we spent our first 25 years of our life where we could barely go a day without being in a leftist bubble or borderline leftist bubble, depending on how far left your school and your college was. But yeah, that's another issue in and of itself. But main point being, Canada's in a world of trouble, and the states are doing pretty good, and yet you have all these people that are too partisan, too proud, and I mean, the way I put it, just too much of complete assholes to be like, yeah, you know what, I was wrong. Like, and not only that, like, holding these positions is really hurting people. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of Canadians that are out of jobs that shouldn't be, and because you guys are too proud and too big of, like I say, assholes to admit that the Trump economy is doing well because of Trump, that we can't maybe be like, hey, maybe what they're doing is right. We should do more what they're doing. But no, you'd rather sit in your partisan little bubble, too proud to admit you're wrong, and it's hurting a lot of people. And when the bottom falls out in Canada, I mean, you should look yourself directly in the mirror and tell yourself you're responsible for this, because you are. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.